Welcome to Own the Season podcast. We will talk to industry insiders along with outdoor enthusiasts to help you own your season. Now let's join hosts Art and Michelle Helen with Brad Jones. Own the Season podcast is brought to you by The Hunter's Vault. Cool, protect, and age your harvest with great results. Full size, but yet portable. The Hunter's Vault. Find out more at thehuntersvault.com.
Hello and welcome to Own the Season podcast. I'm Michelle Helen along with Art Helen and Brad Jones today. And I think we're talking turkey one more time here. We're winding down here in Wisconsin. Going to be starting our last week of our 6-week regular season. And it's been a busy one around here.
Yeah. I'm kind of napping as we're doing this. I've been running crazy for 5 weeks straight, and
Wow.
Well, more than that, if you count the two youth, the youth and the learn to hunt.
yeah, so 7 weeks straight.
Yeah.
And I've
The
got
turkey grind.
Yep, the turkey grind, and there's 1 week left.
But he loves it, so.
And fortunately, unfortunately, all my turkey hunters are done. They're gone. I could purchase tags, but we had such a great year that we've killed enough off all my leases and all the farms and different places I go. And so with that, I think I am going to take a break, and it is now food plot season for me.
You're going to call it a year on the turkeys,
Yep,
huh?
it's going to be...
I'm going to hold you to that.
I got a lot of mowing to do. You know, I do have...
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
One turkey that if he does show up again on camera, I might have to buy a tag. So this bird has, in one picture, I know for a fact that he has a minimum of 5, probably 6 to 7 beards. Big multiple bearded bird. That would be a bird that I would be interested in just going out to try. But other than that,
He's also been in a property that's been a challenge the last couple weeks.
well, until last night.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
so,
So let's talk
Challenge
about
for finding birds or just the birds not working?
being in the right spot.
Oh, okay.
I think maybe so. Like I know we talked last, going into this previous week on what you were noticing out there turkey hunting, and we talked about, I think, getting rid of the Jake decoys, just using hens or a hen, single hen or 2 hens. We talked about maybe some quiet birds and being patient and sitting, even if, you weren't hearing anything. And then we talked about like re-scouting, I think, and using cameras or scouting from the road as the farm fields.
yeah.
We're getting worked or planted, etc. How did you use any of those things this past week, and how did things turn out?
Yeah, I mean, I had to, because as I expected, like late in these seasons, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but, the majority, after, your morning gobbles and they hit the ground, birds get real quiet. Right away in the morning, they hang with those hens, trying to breed those last hens, and then after that, they don't want to fight anymore. They don't want to do anything. They've been beat up. So they're just looking for that hen, that last breeder hen. And that really stood true this week. I mean, it was, right away in the morning, like I had, this week was fun. I had the Miller family and Jim Miller, Mr. Longevity UFC man that, I think he's going to be 70 and still fighting.
Well, we did joke about UFC 500 or so. I don't know what that means. 600?
Yeah, there's a meme out about
yeah.
him in a wheelchair at UFC 600 still fighting. But he was here with his brother and his son, and
which it was Jim's been hunting with us now for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it might be longer than that.
And But this was the first turkey hunt anywhere, not just Wisconsin, for Wyatt and Dan.
Yes.
So that was fun.
It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun, but I knew they were coming, and so I'd been doing a ton of scouting, a lot of stuff on my cameras, a lot of driving every day, trying to figure out where the birds were, what they're doing, because it's easier to call them to a spot, again, if you know where they want to be. And we knew where this bird was, and Jim is, he likes to sit up against a tree. I do too, for certain reasons. There's the new hunters, things like that, or hunting with my bow. Sitting in a blind is great. I like the camaraderie, taking somebody else, because you can't do that necessarily deer hunting and things like that, where we can, if we're in turkey hunting, we can sit, we can have a conversation. I can explain
When you're in the blind.
Right.
Yeah.
When we're in a blind, I can explain why we're doing things the way I'm doing as a teaching tool, right? It's a lot easier to teach when I'm in that blind. Well, I've hunted with Jim long enough that now he wants to sit up against a tree. We've done it
He
before.
wants to do it the whole thing himself
He
without
does.
you even there. He was trying to do some of that too.
Yep, he does. And so the first morning I'm like, all right, let's go do this. Well, right away, the birds were where we wanted them. They pitched down, they hit the ground, and the hens walked by us at 5-6 yards. Here comes a gobbler, and all you could hear, never gobbled once when he hit the ground, all you could hear is a spit drumming coming up the trail. And he's about to step out at 6 yards. And I'm like, this dude is, this is done, right? All of a sudden, this bird takes off flying. And I'm like, what? I know he didn't see me. I know he didn't see Jim. What's going on? And all he did is flew out in the field where the hens were and landed with the hens. Well, sure enough, then there's a Jake that comes out chasing this Tom. And so things just went south from there on that bird, and it didn't happen. Well, then that night, Jim's like, I'm going by myself. I know where I'm going. I know what to do, this and that. I said, well, I'm going to go kill 2 birds. And he kind of giggled, and I said, I know where these birds are. They've been on a pattern, usually 7 to 7:30 at night. I've seen them in a field. Whether I can get them to respond to me to get close enough will be a whole different ballgame, and see if we can make this work. So I take Dan and Wyatt out. All I put out is a lay down hen, because right now what's happening, if you put that Jake out, and don't get me wrong, it works sometimes if you find that right bird, but you have so many birds that you probably don't even see that might peek over a hill or see that and are like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. So I've changed my calling. I've got super soft, but you can play the game with the other hens right now. So if you need to get in that, piss and match with a hen, you can, and it works well. Because that boss hen, if she's not on nest, she's still trying to, lead the pack. Well, that night I get up there, and sure enough, a hen comes out at 4:00 in the afternoon, and I'm like, okay, we're good. So, and I'm calling soft and trying. Well, I get her a little fired up, so I start cranking on her. We finally get one to gobble in the bottom. A little while later, gobbles a little bit closer, and I'm thinking, all right, this is going to work. That hen leaves the field. She's gone. Now, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, dances. There's 2 birds to your left coming into the field. And then he says, and they've got really big beards. And I'm like, all right. I said, well, we'll see what happens. These 2 birds... These 2 gobblers never gobbled once. They never came to the decoy. They just stared at that decoy, that lay down hen, forever. And I thought, what are we going to do here, right? And all of a sudden, the one Tom finally relaxed. He started going in the strut, get him to spit drum. So I started calling really soft just to see if I could bring him. And they were about 35 yards, so they're close enough, but they're in a spot in the blind where I can't get these 2 guys to shoot to try to double. all of a sudden out of nowhere, because I start calling soft, I hear a hen behind us cut twice. So I cutted her soft as much as I can. She literally takes flight and pitches over the top of our blind to that lay down hen and starts screaming at her, and then slowly starts walking away. Well, that is all that had to happen. Now all of a sudden the two toms, so he goes and strut, pushes the other one. They walk up in front of the blind. I say, all right, boys, on the count of 3, fill your tags. And this was at 5 o'clock. And I know it's the same birds that are usually in that field at 7:30. But it's using that soft calling. If I would have got loud and aggressive, I've seen it too much in this last week, where when you get loud and aggressive like you have earlier and you don't have a hen responding to you, you're pushing the birds because they're call shy. I've watched toms go out of strut and walk away from me. I've watched them leave the fields. The same with some of the inferior hens. And when they leave, it's no good. So trying like next week for the last week, or this coming week, I should say, starting tomorrow, you get real soft. Soft, cut your decoys back, get to that lay down hen or just a feeder hen or both of those, and get rid of those jakes altogether at this time, and play the temperature game, see what their temperature is and go after them. So it was a fun time, when we got those. Well, then Jim wanted to try it again on his own the next morning, and then kind of gave in a little bit, and we went out then Friday night and filled Jim's tag. And then Saturday we didn't hunt. I think we went to Cabela's.
Field trip to Cabela's.
Yeah, we had a field trip to Cabela's. Wyatt, 14-year-old boy, needed to
spend that gift card.
Yep.
Right.
He had a gift card that
burned a hole in his pocket.
I'm gonna go get whatever, and I don't know.
He got a pair of cowboy boots.
He did get a pair of cowboy boots.
He used his gift card on that or what? But
which was awesome because then my sister is on a dairy farm here, so we had him breaking those cowboy boots and
milk a cow.
Teach him how to milk a cow.
They got the full Wisconsin experience.
They did.
Right? Lots of cheese curds.
They did. And actually, there's going to be a post with pictures here on our Facebook page on the season here in a little while, probably after this goes. But then, so the birds they bought extra tags because we were supposed to go fishing. We were supposed to go, and but the weather's been bad. And they had some really big waves on Lake Michigan, and the fish weren't in yet. So they called the people we fish with and said, this isn't going to work. So they decided to buy more tags, unbeknownst to me right away. And then they said, hey, we've got more tags. I'm like, oh, boy.
And they know their guide can put them on them, right?
Yes.
Right.
And so then Sunday morning we woke up, and I was going to go with Dan, and Jim wanted to go give Wyatt the experience of sitting up against a tree. So they went out to the one farm, and I went to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock, or 4 o'clock, and it was raining. And I talked to Dan, and Dan says, yes, it's raining. He says, I'll see you for coffee upstairs around 7. Yep, sounds like a good idea. I'm rolling over and going back to bed. Jim and Wyatt, they went out and sat in the rain, and they saw a bobcat at about 10 yards, walked through, looked at him, which was a very cool experience for them and for Wyatt. Yeah. But then, the birds were really quiet, and again, they've been getting quieter and quieter. So then Sunday night? Yeah. So Sunday night, we went to a different farm, and I told, Jim's like, oh, I'm going to take Wyatt. We're going to go. And I said, there's been 2 toms up there, but they're very call shy. So just basically sit, don't say anything, don't do anything, and, see if they come out to feed in that field. I said, I'm going over to the other side. There's one bird, this multiple bearded bird, that I said, I'm going to see if I can get Dan on over here. And Jim says, he sent me a text and he says, I can see, 2 toms with 3 hens down in the bottom. And I said, okay. Well, probably, half hour went by. And I said, what are those toms doing? Well, they weren't moving, so I called at them and they went the other way. So I'm assuming that was those 2 that have been call shy now for a little while. And we had had a hen, Dan and I had a hen come in, and she was just cranky. And she ended up behind us at about 20 yards, 25 yards for an hour, probably an hour to an hour and 20 minutes straight, just like literally screaming at each other. She would call, I would call. She would call, I would call. I mean, she would cut, I would cut, and we just back and forth. But I was trying to do it about 2 notches lower than her, so that she still thought she was the boss. And she did, because she kept getting closer to me, and then she would scream louder, and then she'd walk away. And then I would yell at her real soft, and she would come back. Well, it wasn't long, and all of a sudden the old redhead pops up, and I'm like, well, he never gobbled once. Nothing. And I looked at Dan. I said, can you make that shot? And he's like, yeah, which I was hoping, because he was shooting a 12 gauge and it was like 27 yards. But it was kind of a goofy angle, right? Because it was on the backside of the blind. So he kind of spun. And he was kneeling funny. And so I called, bird's head went up. He shoots. And I kind of try to catch him before he comes flying off the chair back into my lap. And I'm like, did you hit him? It's probably the first time that I haven't seen a bird actually go down. I said, did he go down? Because I couldn't see anything else. And he says, yeah. So then I leaned out and I saw that he'd shot that bird. And the crazy thing is that 7 weeks into this, that I've been doing it, 5 weeks into the normal season, and this was by far the biggest bird of the year.
Yeah, that's what really, when you sent me the text, I mean, there was the picture, and, sometimes you can tell those really big birds in the picture. The one you sent wasn't a great picture, it's just a quick shot of the bird on the ground. You can tell when those big birds are on the ground, they still look so round, where like the regular average birds kind of meld into the ground and they just kind of look like they're flat against the ground. But then, usually when you're cleaning birds, I'll get a bowl or a big pan or pot and some paper towels and the knife and a garbage bag and, have everything. And you're like, this isn't going to fit in that bowl. And then showed me the picture of the scale. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's really big. And then the more I got thinking about it, that's just what I was thinking, too. And, Dan being new to turkey hunting, like, he doesn't know that, right? And so when you guys got home and he came in, I said, I've been thinking, like, that's a really big bird, and especially for this time in the season.
Yeah.
I said that because they lose weight.
An average bird in Wisconsin will lose 3 to 4 pounds throughout the breeding season. Depending. Some won't lose quite that much. Usually they lose 15 to 20% of their entire body weight, the dominant toms do. And so if you looked at that at 15% on the low end, that puts that bird at 31 pounds, a little over 31 pounds, because it was 27 pounds, 4 ounces. Mm-hmm. And
wow, that's a big bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was giant. And 11 and a quarter inch beard. One spur was broke off. The other one was just shy of 1.5 inches. So, I mean, fabulous bird. Mm-hmm. But, and part of what made this happen and what's really, going into this season tomorrow for the listeners that you really need to focus on if you're still going out there. Again, these birds are going to be quieter. but you need to be scouting those fields. Right now, you've got beans starting to pop out of the ground. You have corn popping out of the ground. You have people putting their food plots in. Focus on those areas. That's what these birds have done. They've moved. And I've seen that. They've moved from one field to the next field. And one of these, where there was a field, some of those birds have moved, 500,000 yards plus. And that's now where they're feeding. That's what they're doing. So they're changing the roost. They're closer to that. They're closer to their hens. It's very important to be looking at your cameras right now and your food sources, because people are just putting in, even if you're just now tilling that up and going to put food plots in, or their farmers planting, even just putting the seed in, that's going to change. They're going to try to pick that seed out of there. Or if it's really dry, they're going to use those fields as dusting areas.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of that
Right.
too in the last couple weeks.
Especially because it's been such a goofy year with so much wet and then dry, is where it was so wet earlier. So we've got a horrible mosquito and gnats right now. I mean, they're horrible. So, I mean, our thermocells have been working overtime out there. And yesterday Dan and I usually put one thermocell in and you're fine. We had 2 thermocells running in there because they were so crazy bad. And so that's what they're doing. They're dusting to keep all those bugs off of them and to keep them away. And so look for those fields that they're dusting in. You hunt those dust areas, those toms are going to be checking those. And again, they're going to be quiet. They might be noisy on roost. You might get them to gobble a few times during the day. But right now, you're going to have probably 75 to 80% of your birds that come in, they're going to be quiet. So, as I've said before, patience kills birds, movement moves birds. So if you're up walking around trying to get that shot gobble, it's going to be pretty tough late in the year like this to get those shot gobbles, to get those things to happen, and they're going to see you way beforehand, even with the foliage out there. So do your scouting, figure out where they want to be, and then go sit those areas, and you're going to kill some good birds this 6th season. I mean, you're going to kill some of your best hooked birds right now, because that is your breeder looking for that last hen. And this is when he's going to give it up, because those hens are going to be on nest and he's going to be looking for love. And when he comes in looking, hopefully, he's going to be staring down the end of a barrel or an arrow. But 1 week left, guys, and I say don't give up and be done, but I'm like, I'm done unless I find that bird. But again,
You're just tired.
yeah, I mean, I've run a ton of hunters, though. That's the thing, is a lot of people, they're going out for themselves, or they've had, I've had 4 friends go out with me. Yeah, I wish I could say I only had 4. I've had a boatload of people through
But
here.
you enjoy it. So that's
and I do. I enjoy it.
But it gets to be a lot by the end of the season.
The spring hunt is so much earlier. You have to get up to get
Yeah.
your blind.
That darn sun.
I
Yeah.
mean, holy cow, yeah.
These 5th and 6th seasons, like, when Jim gets here and he's like, what time we got to get up tomorrow? I'm like, I don't know. Let me look. And I'm like, holy crap, we got to get up at 3:45.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I think too, that's where your scouting kind of comes in, and especially the trail cameras can really show, do we have some spots where the birds aren't there right off the roost? You don't need to be there at dawn.
Right.
Or at, shooting hours, in every location, in every situation. And the place where Dan and Wyatt shot their birds, historically for us, like, we can't really get in there in the morning, probably without busting them off the roost.
Right.
So that's, for us, has been a wonderful afternoon spot for many years.
Well, we could get in there in the morning. They roost about 30 yards to 40 yards off that field is all.
Okay, so what time?
So You know, if we were leaving here at 3:45 to hunt those other areas, we would leave here at about 2:45.
Yeah, no, I mean, possible, yeah, but
It might be easier just to
stay overnight.
Yes, to take a blanket and sleep on the floor of the blind.
Not that desperate for turkey.
No, I'm not pulling that for turkey.
But one other thing, so that I heard you say that you were doing, or heard you talk about both the hunts, both Dan's hunt on Sunday, as well as Dan and Wyatt earlier there when they got the double. It seems to me like you're soft calling, like you're, I don't know, like, because the toms are going to be quiet anyways and they may not be answering, so it almost seems like you're calling to attract another hen, which, like the best decoy is a live decoy.
Right.
So that's not a bad idea, but it seems like that's, kind of what you ended up doing was, calling in a boss hen, another hen, which then helped pull that tom in.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, you're letting that tom know that you're on that field, especially if you're hunting fields. Because that's where the food source is. And so that, or if you're in the woods, you're just letting them know that you change your calling. And when I mean soft, I'm talking very few yelps or cuts unless she starts. It's more real soft clucks and real soft purrs is they're feeding. It sounds like feeding.
Oh, just
purrs.
like contented.
Yep, it's just content feeding purrs, feeding clucks. So when you're in that field, it just sounds like that hen is out there picking things and doing the same in the woods, just letting that tom more or less know that, okay, there's already birds in that field. So I need to go check on them. Or it's bringing that hen, and if she starts responding to you, then you get a little more aggressive with her, because then she also thinks you're in that field feeding.
Yeah.
But like, I'm the boss hen, so who's bitching back to me? Because I know that she shouldn't be the boss hen. So now that helps draw her in. And if she's the boss and getting cranky, she's still with them. That's usually who those toms are with. So you're bringing the whole, you're not so much focused at this time of year on, pinpointing one bird and calling that bird to you. You're more focused on, I mean, if he's responding, calling, then
right.
It's just like back to early seasons. But a lot of them aren't. So you're more focused on content feeding in this field, trying to bring the whole group into you is what you're more focused on.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, get rid of those other decoys and look more at your hen sets than putting that Jake in there and scaring the birds away. Because now you have all those Jakes, and at this time of year, I call them thug Jakes.
Oh, the gang mentality.
Yep. Yeah. And they've been watching these toms breed for 5 weeks now, and now all of a sudden they're getting that 5 weeks older, and they're like, I know
they
what
want
he's
their
doing.
turn, right?
Yep, they want their turn.
I want some of that.
And he's tired. He's wore down. Yeah. He's lost a lot of weight. He doesn't want to fight anymore. So what happens is instead of 1 or 2 Jakes, this is why now all of a sudden you see those groups, 3, 4, 5, 6 Jakes in a group, and they go in and run those toms off. So if you're putting those Jakes, that's why all of a sudden now they start getting a little more shy. And they're like, I don't know. And they'll hang up more consistently. Do they work? Sure, they work. On some birds, they always do. There's always exceptions to the rule.
Well, deer decoys are the same.
Right.
You never know if a buck decoy is gonna be right for not, for a given deer. I was just thinking with the calling, like you said, if you get a tom to respond, that's one thing. Then you call like you normally would. But since we've been saying that the toms, may be more likely to be quieter, but if you have a hen that responds, like don't just focus on, I don't have any toms answering me, so therefore, I'm only going to hunt till whatever time, or I haven't heard a tom. I think I'm going to, give up for today or move. if you get a hen to respond, work her a little bit.
Oh.
Don't just say, you're not being successful because you're not hearing a tom answer you.
Right.
Like if you get a hen to answer you, kind of switch gears and work her, and that he might be like you said, he might be following her with her.
That was the whole game last night. That's what won the game last night is we kept her interested, or I kept her interested for so long, and kept her. She'd leave, and then I'd do what I had to do to bring her back. And that finally, he's like, okay, what's going on over here with these two hens? If he was coming over to play peacemaker and say, hey, you two need to get along.
You don't need to fight over me.
Yeah.
No.
Right? Yeah.
You can both have me.
I know that I'm
was eating.
sexy and
Yeah.
everything else, but,
So are you just mimicking the hen then
Oh, yeah.
with your calling?
Yeah.
Just mimicking her calls?
As soon as she cuts, I cut. I just don't cut as loud. She yelps, I yelp. She purrs, I purr.
On top of her almost? Are you letting her?
Almost on top. Try to cut her off.
Yep.
And just get her going. And if we wouldn't have killed the bird we killed last night, we would have killed another one. Pretty much a guarantee, because we had a gobbler down in the bottom that had cut the distance quite a ways to us. And when her and I would go, he would cut us off.
Oh.
And when those
Okay,
gobblers
cool.
start cutting you off, that they're hot. They're
Yeah.
like, okay. And
Right.
so every time this would happen, so I'm waiting for this gobbler to show up out of nowhere. And I said, Dan, you got to watch this way, because this is where those birds are feeding, and they feed over this hill to come down here to roost. I said, so just pay attention over there. And I said, I'm going to watch for this bird. And out of nowhere, Dan's like, there he is. I see a big red head. Well, I think it's a red head. And then I'm like, yeah, that's him. And then he came over the hill, and, for his first, week of ever turkey hunting, and granted, he's hunted a lot of stuff before, but he did really well, because turkey hunting is different. It's not deer hunting. It's not, their eyesight is so good and their hearing is so good, that people think they have time. But if you try to move on that turkey and that thing sees you move, good luck.
Or one of the many other turkeys that are out there
Right.
with them too.
Right.
Sometimes you got multiple sets of eyes, right?
Yeah, they're gonna, I've watched them. I've had hunters try to move and watch them take flight, and fly away, and they never get a shot. And so yeah, he did an exceptional job. Wyatt did a great job for his first time ever at 14 years old. Jim's Jim. No, I mean,
Well, I want to. Okay, I gotta pick on Jim a little. But he told me this himself. So, the last bird that Dan got, in addition to your calling with that hen and arguing with that hen and bringing her in, Jim shared that he helped because his calling repelled the turkeys from where he and Wyatt were and pushed them towards you.
and I mean, Jim's not a bad hunter. He
Yeah,
isn't.
no, he's not.
He's but he's new to the turkey game yet. And so he's trying. I give him all that. I give him, the credit that he wants to do it on his own. He wants to get out there, and I've listened to him call. So for him to say, I am, pushing these birds to art and stuff, it's kind of all fun, because he is, I've listened to him call, and man, he has really upped his game. He's not a bad caller at all. He's actually got pretty good at it. The only thing that he needs to learn, and he moves well. I mean, like I said, I like to give him crap, but and the reality of it, I think he'd be a very good turkey hunter, but the only thing he's lacking right now that he is trying to learn is when to call and what calls to make.
Oh, sure. Kind of putting it together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Putting the cadences together. When do I need to purr? When do I cluck? When do I, cut? When to, so there's all those different things and how to change the volume. And that's one thing, that I recommend to everybody too is, learn how to do that. Some of it is just, listening to turkeys out in the wild, but go to YouTube, go to these things, and don't listen to people calling. Don't watch the hunts, because the hunts are great. But if you really truly want to learn their language and what they're doing, Google or look YouTube and go to turkey vocalizations and watch that and watch their response. Or like I do with my trail cameras. So I'll take my stealth cameras, and I want my stealth cameras or my muddy cameras, and I want them to have audio on them. And I run video all the time in the spring. It's always on video. I switch them over to photos, for deer. But in the spring, I want them on video because I get that audio. Then I can see or listen. I can do both. I can see and listen to how that gobbler is responding to how that hen is calling, how the other hens are responding to that calling, and what vocalizations they're making. Are they purring? Are they clucking? Are they cutting? What are they doing? And what relaxation sounds are what? What are, okay, I want to get excited for him or get him excited. What calls are those? Fighting purrs, things like that. When they're doing that. And, that's a huge part of it. It's a lot of people can call. It's a matter of when. That's what it comes down to. And they're like, what's the cadence? And I'm like, there is no cadence. If you truly listen to a turkey out there, there really isn't a cadence. I mean, they can go from a yelp, yelp, yelp to a cluck to whatever in 2 seconds.
There's a speed to the yelping. I feel like there's probably there's a range, but I feel like, you can go like too fast or too slow.
And there is on a normal yelp, but then like an excited yelp is a little different.
Sure.
So there's, and you don't, there's so many different vocalizations that a turkey makes. And everybody thinks they have to be a grandmaster caller at it, and you don't. I've heard some of the worst turkeys in the world out there. I mean, one year...
Oh, the live turkeys sound like crap. Yeah.
I remember one year I was out there, and I heard this, and I think you were with, I'm sure, because Michelle's always with, and we were filming, and I'm like, you make sure you got that camera on, because when that guy pops out of the woods over there, I want his face on camera so I know who is trespassing on my property. And I'll be damned if a hen didn't pop out just about 30 seconds later. And she sounded hideous. It was bad. And there were no toms following her, probably why. But,
right.
She was bad. I mean, there's no question, like really bad. But you don't have to be the best caller in the world. And I've been fortunate, I've done it for so long. This year I did struggle a little bit with my purrs and a couple of cuts after my surgeries. And, after they took part of my mouth out, it's been a little rough with the diaphragm call. I finally figured out where to put it and how to change some things. And so by the end of the season now, I'm starting to get it down. I still once in a while I'll have a few issues of the purr, which is very frustrating to me when you go from, I could do anything that you had to do on a diaphragm call, and I could make any turkey sound you ever thought of on a diaphragm call. Well,
I never could purr on it, so
and so now all of a sudden I'm like, and I'm not necessarily limited. It's just trying to get back to that. And I'm sure I slowly will. But this year, obviously, it worked well because I was 100% on everybody who came in as far as shot opportunities. You had
one person that ruined your success stats,
yes,
I think.
one
Just
person that ruined my success. And
we
I
won't
know
name names, but he might be listening to this.
He will be listening, so I won't name names. But unfortunately, things happen, and things got rushed and shot over it. And that brings up another point. Not only patterning shotguns, but when you're getting excited and things are happening fast, try to remember the one thing of getting down on that gun. Because if you're going to miss, 90% of the time you're going to miss, you're going to shoot over the top of it because you're excited and you're not down seated. You don't have your cheek on that gun where it should be.
You're peeking.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. You're peeking. And so you don't have that back, and all you see is that front bead. The same with a red dot. Everybody thinks as long as I have that red dot on its head, I'm good. That's the way it works if you have that cheek there. Otherwise, you're still going to be high. And
I think the other thing that helps always, but especially if maybe you're not going to be down on the gun or peeking a little bit, is to put that dot or put that bead at the base of the neck where the feathers, meet the skin.
Yep.
And not on the head. And that way you've got, even if you are a little high, you still got half your pattern, that's in that kill zone.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that can happen these late seasons, especially guys that are, doing that with the shotguns. I tell you, the one that I've been most impressed with still is that little 410. That thing's been a machine. But
a killing machine, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I even had Dan. He wanted to try it,
Okay.
and he's like, I want to see what that. And he brought a 12 gauge, and I mean, that bird 34 yards, and he shot that thing, and it dropped like a hammer. I mean, didn't even move. And then the second one, he's like, I kind of want to shoot one with my own shotgun. So he shot that with his 12 gauge. And, so get out there and get practicing, even practice with those, just getting down on that gun, being on that. But again, going into this last week, off the gun, my best advice right now. And Brad, you kind of fill in too if you want after this, because I mean, you've hunted a lot of turkeys in late season and had a lot of success at it, and same with Michelle. But make sure that, again, you're scouting a lot right now, and fight with the hen if you got to fight with the hen. Get a lot softer in your calling, and get rid of those Jakes or Tom decoys, and settle in for a while, because it could be a long sit. You might be there 10 minutes, or you could be there for a long time, especially if you get on those food sources right now and try to figure out where they are. I mean, you could be sitting there 5-6 hours. So get comfortable. If you're like Wyatt, take a grocery store with you.
Pack snacks. No.
Pack snacks. Pack the grocery store. Take that.
Quiet snacks. No Little Debbie's.
Whatever keeps you out there.
To say, now you're saying quiet snacks. I mean, we're like, so, and this was a fun Wyatt story real quick. So, when it was Jim and I, after Wyatt and Dan had killed one, they wanted to still see the hunt. Well, the way this field was set up, I actually had 2 blinds. One of them's an elevated blind for deer hunting, and then I have my turkey set up. So I said, we're going to put Dan and Wyatt in that elevated blind so they can watch Jim shoot a turkey, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So Jim and I are sitting there, and we're probably, I don't know, just getting settled in, like things are going to happen. And they're probably 25 yards from us in this elevated blind. And all of a sudden you hear a crunch, crunch, and then just the loudest giggling. And Jim and I look at each other. We're like, what are they? And then pretty soon they start laughing again. We're like, really? And I'm like, it'll be done. 5 minutes later, the busts out laughing again. And Jim's like, all right, enough of this stuff. So he's like sending a text. And Wyatt's trying to eat Pringles quietly. And it's not working. And so Dan is kind of scolding him for this crunch, crunch, crunch and these Pringles. Well, he's making it worse because as he's giving Wyatt crap about these noisy Pringles, Wyatt can't control himself. So he's laughing really hard at Dan, trying to make him stop. And so, yeah, it was just, it was pretty wild there for the first 10, 15 minutes in the blinds. But, yes, we knew we were going to be there. So take water, take snacks, take in quiet snacks, and settle in. Because, patience is going to kill birds. And just, I guess, spend your time. The more time you're out there, the better odds you have.
Well, it was nice to see that they came in and were very successful. Because I'm sure Dan's hooked on turkey hunting now, and so is Wyatt.
Oh, yeah, Wyatt's already made his plans to come back next year. And I said, Wyatt, what about your little brother? Maybe I guess then there's going to be 4 of us, isn't there?
You're the one sister.
Oh, yeah.
I think Meals
wants to hunt, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty soon I'm going to have to lease a bunch more land. And, and that's the thing is people are like, well, Art, you're killing too many turkeys off that piece of land. And I'm like, I've got 8 or 9 different farms that I lease and hunt so that I don't overshoot birds. I have regulations of how many turkeys can come off of each farm, and that's it. Because I know if there's other turkey hunters around those farms, if there's not, how many birds are getting shot. So we're not overshooting those birds. And, I could go buy a bunch of tags and do it myself. I think they should limit it in the state. I've had that before. It's not my place, but I've always said they should limit it to 2 birds a person. If you really like it the way I do and you love these turkeys, take guys out, take girls out, different people that don't have that opportunity, might not have the opportunity where there's a lot of birds. And if you've got that many birds, get them out there, get them hooked. Take them to your place and just say, hey, this might be a one-time deal, but I want to teach you on how to kill turkeys. I want to mentor you because there's birds here, and then they understand what they're looking for, how to call, different things like that. So instead of me buying 20 tags a year and killing 20 turkeys, I would rather, have all these leases in all these places and take 20 different people out that don't have that opportunity or have never turkey hunted in their life and try to get them out there to enjoy that. And that's what I do. That's my own personal. I'm not going to tell you, hey, you can't do that because right now it's legal. You can do that, and it's not my place to tell you no. But sit back and think about it and think about how many we're taking off of each piece so that we don't overshoot them and end up like some of these other states where all of a sudden they went from 3-4 bird limits to now you have to draw a tag no matter where.
Yeah,
because,
just a bad hatch, a poorly timed, cold rainstorm.
Yeah.
Can wipe out
a lot of birds
pretty quick.
Yeah.
So going into the last week, I think what I'm hearing you say is some tips would be continue to be patient, scout as the fields are getting planted and patterns are changing. Hen decoys only, probably a wise decision. Expect the toms to be quiet. And with that, if you're calling, also call quieter, a little bit maybe softer on the calls. And then, if you don't hear a tom responding to your calls, but you've got a hen answering you, to see that that's a good thing, and to then, try to call in that hen as the tom might be hanging out with her or follow her in. The best decoy is a live decoy. And if you have the opportunity, there's plenty of tags available here in Wisconsin for this last season. Mentor somebody, maybe take somebody out who has never hunted before and teach them about this great sport of turkey hunting and own the season.
Follow Own the Season Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for listening.
Check back weekly for new episodes.